It's Reiki, but not as you know it.
I think we made it, Linda. I think we're here.
Well, yes, I do believe we have crossed the threshold, and it's good to be back to a familiar place, but I have to confess it feels different. It looks different.
But how many months have we been in those?
I know maybe it's just being underground for so long. I don't know. There's a different feel. Is it the darkness to the light? Is it the shadows to the exposed areas? I don't know, but it feels good to be back. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna hug this chair constantly. I'm never letting go of this chair. I haven't seen a chair in months. But that's the thing. When you get completely lost, whether it be in the hidden city or somewhere else, the coming back to yourself is not a coming back to yourself. It's a coming back to something completely new.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the very fact that you got lost means that the finding is finding somebody who's been changed by that loss and is different from the one who was not lost before.
Right, who never lifted their butt off the stool. Yes, correct.
My butt on this stool right now, and I think Cornelia has seen us and is going to bring Tipples over.
Yeah, I think that there's a look of shock on her face because she probably thought we, transplanted to another country or something, but
unless of course the time works differently, in which case we just left.
That's possible too, isn't it? Isn't that so true? Like, that's very probable.
In so many ways, we've been on so many journeys in the realms and experienced so much. It would be fantastic, having got lost in the hidden city, that we actually have a chat today about getting lost in another part of the realms, which is all about loss and endings and transformation through the processes of death. And I was thinking perhaps we could have a chat about the lonely road.
It really does mirror our journey, so it's perfect. Cool. Let's get to it.
Give me that tipple. Give me that tipple.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, what is this tipple?
I don't know. She had a look of concern. So we must look different. I know what I look like when I've been out and about, just hiking. So I can just imagine the sight that I am.
It's the twigs in your hair that do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's always stuck in the hair. Always. Always. Sometimes I don't find it for days.
And I think some tufted titmice have nested.
Oh. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I want some. I think my tipple is Marmite. It's got that sort of Marmite taste. Do you have Marmite in the US?
I don't know what that is. Maybe it's called something else here.
It's yeast extract.
Oh,
spread it on toast.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that. No, we don't have that here.
You don't have that
in the States. No.
I can understand why.
Yeah, I know of people that have been challenged to have a spoon of it, like a spoonful of it, and yeah, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah, you either love it or it makes you want to hurl profusely.
It's kind of like chocolate for me. Okay. I get it.
It's a bit like for British people trying root beer. They either love it or ew, it tastes like toilet cleaner.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. Well, I'm not going to criticize because of chocolate in my feelings towards it. So, okay, I accept that.
See, I love both root beer and Marmite, so I'm quite happy.
That doesn't surprise me because you like the scent of skunk. So, although I don't mind root beer, I don't, toilet cleaner never crossed my mind.
It's because we have a particular toilet cleaner here that uses wintergreen as its fragrance.
Okay.
And that's what people associate wintergreen with, is the smell of toilet cleaner. So when they taste root beer, they get that sort of wintergreeny, yeah.
Yeah, I get here in the United States, there is a topical, it's usually prescribed for arthritic. It's called Bengay. And that too uses wintergreen. So yes, if you have anything that you're eating that is wintergreen, people will think you're eating Bengay. It's like, where I love wintergreen. So,
Yes, me too. So what's that tipple you've got there?
I don't know. It's bubbling. Little effervescent bubbles are coming up, and she knows how to appeal to because visually I have to like it before I'll try it, and it's a beautiful amber colored thing. But I think I'm a little dehydrated, so it probably has disgusting flavor to it.
It looks like some type of beer.
It's not beer. It is not. It doesn't smell like beer. It doesn't. Nah. It's probably going to be horrid, but I'll just down it real quick and feel better.
It could be fizzy reindeer wee.
Oh.
Because apparently reindeers love flyageric mushrooms because it gets them high.
Oh.
And because they're poisonous, unless they're processed, processed, they're okay sometimes. But yes, so because they're poisonous to human beings, a lot of indigenous people harvest the urine of the reindeer and then drink it so that they too can have a psychedelic experience.
You are just full of a wealth of information that I had no idea existed.
In US, reindeer are known as caribou.
Yeah.
Yeah, so caribou wee.
Interesting. And in the United States, this mushroom exists, or is it just a lovely UK existence?
So the flyageric is the red mushroom with the little white dots on.
Oh yes, we have those.
They're very familiar. Linda thinks I'm going to go out and harvest some of those later.
Ah, yes. Now, that just the mischievous imp in my head is just like, I'll just grab me a couple of those for later in case I need them for something or someone.
Who do I know that needs to hallucinate urgently?
Yeah. That's exactly the thought process. Oh my goodness, wicked.
What is fascinating around the Lonely Road is this sense of this is the path, liminal space that we use to get from Roman nose, our place where we've defined ourselves and put in the bricks and the cobbles and the buildings and the architecture of who we see ourselves as. It's the pathway that takes us from that into the new transformative experiences of the realms.
Right.
And once we walk the lonely road, going out into the realms, we are never the same after we've done it. It always creates some level of transformation where we stop being the person that we defined ourselves as before, and we start being something new, depending on which realm we're traveling to and which area of that realm we're traveling to.
Right. I think of it in terms of contrast. You know, you, to your point, you have your definition of who you think you are, and as you travel, experiences will create contrast. And so you have this point of reference of, oh, that's not what I thought, or that's not who I am. It's polarity. You get face to face real quick with polarity when you travel the lonely road, and how you deal with polarity based on your previous definition of who you think you are will dictate how you travel that lonely road.
Absolutely.
No one can tell you it's this or it's that. It's only within that you can really be truthful and honest with yourself and put fear aside, because you may, more than likely, not may, you will definitely be exposed to things that you had no idea existed.
And there is this sense of we are so accustomed to being told what to do. And in life, you know, from the moment we're born, really, we are put into definitions and put into boxes, and we are defined in certain ways depending on our childhood circumstances and our caregivers. And it creates this real sense of sculpture and definition as we grow up, some of which will really be beneficial to us in life.
Yeah, of course.
They are strategies that really work for us, and then there are others that are not so much.
Right.
The definitions of who we are expected to be, who other people want us to be.
Right.
And all of this creates the architecture of Roman nose. So whilst you and I can talk about Roman nose, how we experience it, Roman nose is really for others to define for themselves.
Right.
So we can give examples, we can show you what our experiences are like, but really when someone goes into Roman nose, they define it to the architecture of themselves.
Right.
And every time they travel the lonely road to get to whichever realm they're going, that definition, the architecture of Roman nose, changes. So it becomes different because they've walked the lonely road. And so this sense of getting back to who you were really is highlighted by the dynamic of Roman nose and the lonely road. You cannot walk backwards down that path. Once you've walked it, you are changed because of it.
You're forever changed.
Forever changed.
Yes.
And will always be different. So living to the architecture of who you were becomes something that does not serve us in life. And we are constantly striving to be who we were.
Right.
People do not like change, particularly when it's inside of themselves.
Right.
It feels different. And so we tend to sort of think, oh no, I need to go back to that. I need to be that person that I was. And until we truly embrace the change and celebrate it as a more authentic definition of who we are as human beings, there will always be this wanting to go backwards, wanting to be who we were yesterday.
Right.
And that's the wonderful thing with Roman nose, is it is a definition. So we can look at it and go, actually, no, that's not who I am anymore.
Right.
So I need to change it. I need to change the architecture. I need to move it around and make it reflect of who I am now.
Right.
And that's why when we go to the realms, we bring the realms back with us and back to Roman nose, so that we're indelibly changed.
Right. The perspective has shifted.
Absolutely.
You know, you can't look at something the same way if you understand it from a different light.
Definitely.
You know, how can you? And so to, you know, a lot of times it's unconscious. You want to fall back into the default of who you were because it was comfortable, because, you know, you didn't have to see. But I think, you know, it makes me think of Clumpy. You know, how our definitions, when we think of something that we've been told is insignificant, or something that, you know, really can't do anything. You know, they're powerless. They're not capable of fighting their way out of a paper bag, so to speak. When you encounter a different definition of clumpy, we'll say, you realize it's the hidden power that once you acknowledge that and know that to be true, you can no longer look back and say, that's useless, that's insignificant. You're never, you know, you will gain nothing from that.
Yes.
You can't undo that, you know.
In terms of Clumpy, the very childlike, some might say childish, cartoon pup that lives in the realms, this idea of a being that looks or presents themselves as being very childish and akin to children, on the same level as children, yet personifies all of the powerful potential of each of us. So all of the things that are the best of us, the most authentic, genuine selves that we are, that is personified by Clumpy. Yet to look at them, you just think, huh?
Yeah.
And you know, it's the feedback that we've often had around Clumpy is, well, you know, my child would love him. What exactly is this? You know, what have I gotten myself into? Where there's this cartoon, you know, this little trivia or trivial thing that's happening. But in many ways, this idea of being childlike is so important, because our parents, our caregivers, those people who bring us up and bring us into the world, they define us as children. So from the moment we are born, we are defined in that childhood state. And as we get older, our parents will often look at us as children. So essentially, we go through our lives with our caregivers looking upon us as childish, as childlike, as being akin to children.
Right.
Yet we are so much more.
Of course.
And we have elements of ourselves that are childlike, and I absolutely feel that that is an important part of who we are. Our childlike selves are some of the most vibrant, adventurous, wonderful aspects of who we are as human beings. But we are so much more than that. And to discover exactly who you are as an authentic human being, you have to change the narrative.
Yes.
Change the architecture.
Yes.
And so when people look at Clumpy, they see what parents see of their children. As in, it's not as much as because it is a child. And they don't know as much. They're not capable of as much. They need to be looked after.
They can't decide for themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And when we understand and truly appreciate the personification of Clumpy as the utter best of ourselves, the pinnacle of who we are as human beings,
Right.
and the magic that is within us, when we appreciate that, is us to see that within ourselves. this idea of finding our most authentic self, our full embodiment and engagement with the person we were born to be. This is scattered throughout the realms, throughout these environments that we venture into. And so the exploration is one of coming from oneself and how we define ourselves along the lonely road, this acceptance of deep and lasting transformation, death, if you like, this acceptance of the dying of one aspect or one definition of oneself into a rebirth of the new self, and then into the realms where you discover that thing that creates that rebirth. How am I going to revisage myself, reimagine myself into being and into the real world? This is the thing that I will embrace in the realm.
Right. You're basically shedding the old definition and getting to know what the new growth is. Getting to know what this new point of being is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if death sounds a little too harsh for those that, find it's too scary, if you think in terms of death, death as being shedding, we don't have as many fears about that. But that in and of itself should trigger within, well, what is my definition? And who gave me that definition? And is that definition still true for me?
Absolutely. And for me, I embrace that sense of death upon the lonely road. For me, the lonely road does symbolize death. In that very final sense of the ultimate death we are all heading towards, and it is the only destination on the lonely road. But also the death of the old definitions of ourselves, the way we saw ourselves, the way we were told to be, the traits and definitions that we constantly aspire to, even though they don't serve us.
They don't serve us, but we still think they're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And they haven't served us for years.
No.
They
sometimes generations. It's never mine, years. It's generations. Well, that's just how my family does it. Oh. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Righty then.
Yes. But what's really interesting here is when we start to understand how Roman knows and the lonely road and the realms beyond, how they respond and connect to one therapy, and particularly in terms of one therapy, the Reiki modalities of one therapy, because the majority of people in the world define their Reiki modality in that very childish way, in as much as they see it as no more than a child. And when I say that, I don't mean a child as in a human child, but I mean as in something that is new to the world, unformed, only has limited capacity, should we say. And what the realms have come to be within one therapy is this sense of highly evolved, complex, constantly transforming redefinition of what we mean by a Reiki modality. So moving from something which is very childlike in terms of hand positions, you put your hand here, you put your hand here, you put your hand here. A is for apple, B is for ball, C is for chocolate.
Oh!
I didn't take long, did it? But in this very childlike step by step, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C modality, we are suddenly saying, actually, this is very child centric. And what we want to do is we want to mature our vision of Reiki modality into something that is much more able and much more robust in terms of real world effect.
Right.
And to create real world value and to create change on a deep, tangible level, a corporeal level within the real world, we have to grow up, we have to mature.
Right.
We have to become our adult selves within the world. And so does the experience of those Reiki modalities.
Absolutely. You have to learn how to apply from a practical perspective in your day-to-day, how to use those tools, because that's what they are. They're tools. That, you know, there's nothing wrong with the hand positions or the symbols or what have you. Whatever works for you in your understanding, that's wonderful. But don't just leave it there. Do something with it to expand it, because it is unlimited. It's not just one set thing.
Absolutely.
So to change it from your own perspective does not mean that it's ineffective. It simply means that you're evolving your understanding of its potential.
Absolutely. And in so many ways, the concept of Reiki modalities, and particularly Sui Reiki, is this sense of stuckness. It's sort of stuck in like a photographic form. A picture was taken 200 years ago, and that picture is how it is now.
Right.
No, it isn't. It's very, very different to how it is.
Extremely so.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that people see the photograph and they're taking that as being the thing that it is now, when actually it's something very, very different if we embrace that experience. And it's something that is more and more prevalent within the Reiki modality experience, which is this thing of tying it back to what it was, rather than allowing it to adapt and change for our modern experience of the world, our 21st century experience of the world.
To transform us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just making me think of COVID. You know, we were just talking about how you're used to the flu symptoms or a cold symptom, and that's what you associate this experience with, of having COVID, and it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so if you keep fighting against that, or keep trying to maintain the definition of what you think is accurate, there's no gain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas if you embrace it all and saying, okay, this is different. Why is it different?
Yeah.
Is there a purpose beyond simply being a virus that's infecting the human body? The answer is yes, there is more.
Yeah.
But it's you that chooses how that is going to impact you.
There is this sense of, when we contract a virus, one that we are familiar with in terms of cold or flu, and the symptoms of the body's reaction to that, the immune system kicks in and we get these symptoms, which is the body purging itself. It's fighting the virus and
Absolutely.
It's trying to get it out. So we're very accustomed to those symptoms, and we associate those symptoms with the cold or flu.
Right.
And in many ways, when we look at a Reiki modality, such as a Sui Reiki, we're looking for a series of symptoms.
Right.
Expectations and our experiences will come up to meet those expectations, because anything that is beyond those expectations, we filter out, we ignore them, because that's not what it should be.
Right.
When a virus like COVID comes along, remembering, of course, that viruses are not alive, they are inert protein material, and they don't actually start working until they are in the body. And then when they plug into the body, they start basically hijacking those body processes, those living processes, and they use those living processes to do what they do. So it essentially alters the process of the body. And with something like COVID, the way that it alters the physiological function of the body does have these miasmatic themes that come through. And so suddenly, if we are paying attention, we will notice the changes that are happening within us as that viral genetic material is integrating into our overall physiology.
Right.
Cold and flu and all the symptoms we get with them, those nasty purging symptoms, they entrain us into believing that this is something to just get through as quickly as possible and to forget about. That's it, done, gone, came out the other side, lovely. And I want to get back to normal. However, what COVID is teaching some of us is actually we are different when we come out the other end.
Yeah,
there has been a growth, a change, a fundamental transformation in who we are as people, because we learnt a different way of functioning through that experience of COVID.
Right.
And the same thing is happening all the time with Reiki modalities.
Absolutely.
They are constantly revealing new levels of evolution, of change, of experience for us. But if we're just looking to use a Reiki modality as something that creates this healing effect and then we come out the other side unchanged by it, and if Reiki itself, in terms of the modality we are using, just stays this fixed idea in our head, then there is no fundamental value in that.
No.
It's just a snapshot from 200 years ago.
Right.
That does not effectively apply to who we are now.
Right, right. It's kind of profound when you think of it in that light. It's, you know, my famous phrase is, who wouldn't want to constantly see the contrast, to be able to learn from it and be able to say, that was then, this is now.
Absolutely.
And take and glean with, you know, whatever the experiences were from before. If there are still bits and pieces that are of value, bring them along. It's not to say, you know, detach and you're done with it. No, bring along those things that still have benefit, but truly let the things that no longer serve you die.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our lives are a series of steps from the moment we take our first breath through to our final breath. We are constantly stepping. And in that stepping process, there is the majority of the time, we are not fixed. When we place our foot down, it becomes fixed for a moment and then is lifted up again. And we tend in life to focus in on that fixed point between the foot and the earth and want that, because that's something definite. It's touching the earth, it's there.
It's solid.
It's solid. But the challenge is, in terms of who we are as people, if we fixate on that moment of contact, it creates this definition that our ego, our sense of self, holds on to. And eventually we just stand still. We stop moving forward. Our feet make contact, and that's where we stand.
Right.
Because in so many ways, the ego is so fragile, it can't deal with not really knowing how it is defined. And so we may make small steps, we may evolve, and we may mature in life, but we keep it minimal in a lot of cases.
Right.
It's not until you truly embrace not knowing, the incompletion of us all, and start marching forward on that journey, allowing ourselves the majority of the time to be in free fall,
Right.
falling forward, that we actually really begin to glimpse who we truly are.
Right, right. And yes, most of us do not like not knowing.
Mhm.
So none of us have arrived in that aspect. However, the feeling is almost indescribable when you do let go of that I don't know, the concern of not knowing something, whatever, however you define that, the whys, the what do I do, or, what's around the corner. That's human nature. That's your survival mode, but it's working in balance to not allow fear or fight or flight, for that matter, control, because you're right, you do end up staying still,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and there's no gain there.
It is standing still. It is just,
Yeah.
I'm here and that's where I'm going to stay, and I'm
Yeah,
digging my
and I'm
feet
good.
here.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm done.
okay. That's not living. Just so you know.
Whereas falling forward, stepping along the lonely road is scary, because you don't know what the next step holds. You don't know
Right.
where you're heading. But it is in that experience of constant shifting and constant redefinition and growth and development, transformation,
Mm-hmm.
that we really discover ourselves, not in who we think we are or how we define ourselves, but in the movement from one to another, how we respond to that movement, how we behave in that movement. That's really who we are.
Right. Right. Right.
And when we stop defining ourselves in ways that are always past tense, and we break free of those definitions, we begin to realize who we are moving forward, and the experience of that gives us an insight into who we truly are, rather than who we think we were.
I think we are. Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think about how, I know for both of us, we think of the lonely road as very dark and without a lot of illumination to help us see the path ahead. And I embrace that, because that's when we recognize that we've become so dependent on things being revealed right away.
Mm-hmm.
If we walk down a path and it's well illuminated, we know where we're walking. We kind of sometimes miss things because it's so bright and we can see ahead, and who cares about the detail? Whereas when the shadows come and it's darker, you're more specific in your choices. You're more cautious, but not in a fearful way. You just know that, okay, this path is going to lead me to whatever, whatever transformation your goal is. Embracing the darkness embraces who you are, because there are things that through our through our being raised a certain way, or our heritage or ancestry, however you want to look at it, those aspects of who we are that have gotten us to where we are right now, a lot of times they're in the shadows, and we can't appreciate what they are, and so they're hidden. It's important to embrace all of who you are, and darkness will do that. It'll bring to the surface exactly what you need to face in one form or another. And, call me a little twisted, but I really embrace that. It's like, bring it on. Good. Let's do this, because I do want to move forward. I don't want to just curl up in a ball and say, no, I'm good here.
And that's the thing, is that in the darkness, not only is the darkness potential in terms of the outside world, so for example, potential danger or potential discovery, it's also darkness within us, as in the unlimited potential to be whatever we want to be. And definition, in so many ways, the architecture of how we see ourselves is clear cut. This begins here and it ends here. And this is how it is shaped and formed and sculpted. However, in the darkness, we only are left with the sense of who we are, because we cannot see those definitions anymore. They fall away from us.
Right.
And so in the darkness upon this path, we have the potential to be as much or as little as we continue to define ourselves as.
Right. So yeah, I'm loving the dark, lonely road.
And the story of the lonely road is very significant in terms of what the lonely road means for us as we walk into the realms, because it is really a sense of being born into the world, having a knowing of what we are truly capable of when we step into our authentic self and who we were born to be. And we know it tends to get lost as we're defined by other people and they tell us who we are. And for many, it's not until they walk the lonely road in whatever shape and form that means for them. It's not until they do that that they start really living the life that they were meant to live and that they were born to live. And in the story of the lonely road, we see this in as much as there is a conversation happening between two trees, the mother Rowan and the child Rowan, where the child is trying to understand death and what death means for them. And this conversation is a sense of an adult and a child trying to navigate this inconceivable destination that we all head towards, that is inevitably the destination we all face. Our stories are not written until we reach that destination, and then that becomes the full stop at the end of our story, and then we are completely defined through our entire life from beginning to end. And the eventual experience of this story through this conversation is an understanding that a very significant character within the realms did not live their life until they walked the lonely road. And that was where they really started living. And that character is featured in various books and experiences and things within the realms. And a lot of people read that story or experience that story and they're like, that's really sad. It brings so much emotion to them, particularly if they know who that character is and have seen them in other experiences. But to know that their story starts when they die is quite heartbreaking. For me, I always take away the stories that follow, because for me, although it's depicted as a physical death within the story, for me it is a death of transformation.
Absolutely.
Where they surrender all of the things that they were told they should and shouldn't be, and really stepped into the experience of who they are.
Right. The full potential. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling much more at home and relaxed now. It's lovely to be back in the tavern.
Yes, it is most definitely good to be back and back, but I know that we'll be going on more adventures.
Oh my goodness, yes, forever changing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I couldn't just sit still for too long. I know you like the bench, but the stool or the whatever you're calling it, but yeah, we're close to the fire, so once I get warmed up and rehydrated, we're off.
I never refer to seating implements as stools.
Oh, okay.
It triggers something in my sort of naughty.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't take much. I know. All I have to mention is kale.
The naughty part of my brain, i.e. my brain. Yes, so we don't talk about stools.
No, I'll remember that. Unless I feel mischievous.
Fantastic. I'm going to have another tipple and truly relax into the environment. Are you going to have another one, Linda?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Fantastic.
You know, what's a little more reindeer pee, you know?
Oh, lovely. If we have any dialogue of particular interest, we'll share it with people in the tavern, what Roman knows.
Yes. And I hope they're prepared.
The uncensored version.
Yes. Yes. Oh, look, everyone's bringing their chairs closer.
Their stools.
I didn't say it.
Bring your stools to the tavern. We'll sample them for you. Cornelia, will you make a tipple out of it?
We are so messed up. Once again, back with a bang.
Absolutely. Wouldn't fit any other way.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, it's been lovely seeing you all here, and can't wait to see you next time.
Absolutely.
And until then,
bring your stool. No.
That's fantastic. Bring your stool. Who needs enchantment? Your stool.
I do. And even though I can't say it like you do.
Fantastic. So until next time that we meet here in the tavern,
be enchanted.
Bring your stool.
You have been listening to the It's Reiki But Not As You Know It podcast, hosted by Martyn Pentecost, originator of One Therapy, and Linda Hudzinski, chief companion to the One Therapy community. Find out more and join in the conversation at onetherapy.com. That's one-therapy.com. It's Reiki, but not as you know it.